Welcome everybody. Breaking news in the last hour on April 17th, the RCMP conducts search of GC Strategies office as partner appears before the House of Commons. GC Strategies, guys, they are the ones that were awarded the contract for ArriveCan, the totalitarian app to control Canadians, to control our entry and exit of Canada. And if you may remember my videos where I refused to do the ArriveCan when I came back from the USA in May of 2021, and they want you to have the app, they want you to prove that you have been vaccinated with the mRNA, they want you to prove with the app that you've done your pre-testing. They want you to prove that you're going to do your quarantine after the fact, and they're hitting everybody like me, what I did, with $5,000 fines if you did not comply. So if you haven't seen that, go back and find on the Irnieracing channel. I even have my other channel, Irnieracing Outdoors, where there's a playlist for the border crossing, COVID border crossing. Anyways, let's get into this story, guys. And of course, this is on CBC, Communist Canada Broadcasting News, but still, they're putting it out and we're going to read it. The RCMP say that it has searched the office of a contractor who worked on the ArriveScan app. While the police force didn't name the business, an RCMP spokesperson told CBC News that it had executed a search warrant on Tuesday at a location previously listed as GC Strategies' mailing address in Woodlaw, Ontario, just west of Ottawa. RCMP spokesperson said the search warrant was not related to an ongoing investigation into ArriveScan. RCMP's search comes as GC Strategies partner Christian Firth faces questions from MPs in the House of Commons this afternoon, an extremely rare measure that hasn't happened since 1913. In response to a question from Conservative MP Michael Barnett, Firth confirmed that his office had been searched by the RCMP. Firth said the search was related to allegations from Bottler AI, an IT firm that didn't work on ArriveCan but had been contracted for a separate project through GC Strategies and other firms. Bottler co-founder Amir Morov told the Government Operations Committee last fall that he's troubled by the fact that his resume and that of his partner were altered without their consent or knowledge for a government task authorization. Things are getting into the woods here, guys, into the deep woods of corruption and lies. In previous testimony before the committee, Firth acknowledged that his company changed the resumes before submitting them to the government. He said it was a mistake. What was a mistake? Changing the resumes for the ArriveScan application contract? Morv also suggested that GC Strategies may have been, quote, ghost contracting, which he described as a scheme which sees a company bill the government for work attributed to subcontractors that actually may not have done any work. ArriveScam costs over $60 million and still unaccounted for. Firth and GC Strategies have denied these allegations. Firth said Wednesday that he is encouraging the RCMP investigation. Well, it's already happening, so that's nonsense words. Either way, we believe it's going to exonerate us, Firth told the House. Last week, MPs unanimously approved a motion to fine Firth in contempt of Parliament for refusing to answer questions before the House Government Operations Committee last month. Before being questioned by MPs on Wednesday, Firth received an admonishment from House Speaker Greg Fergus. Well, and we all know, and Fergus has an ethics breach violation just a year and a half ago as well, and now he's the Speaker. But back to the politics of Liberals. Fergus stressed the importance of the privileges MPs enjoy and their importance of the functioning of the House of Commons. Sidebar, how ironic for a guy that committed of ethics violations in the House of Commons. He said, and then resigned from that. He said the House has an obligation to reaffirm those privileges when they are violated. Yeah, well then you should have been fired, you asshole, for putting a contract through your friend he promoted one of his friends for a government contract. Anyways, that is precisely what the House has ordered the Speaker, as the guardian of these rights and privileges, to do: to reprimand your contempt for refusing to answer questions put to you by the committee and for prevaricating other questions, Fergus said. For all these reasons, on behalf of the House of Commons, I admonish you. There's that Speaker Fergus, guys, if you're looking at the video. The public rebuke from the Speaker, it is itself a rare measure that has only been used a handful of times in the past century, but it is even more rare for an individual to face questions from the House. No one has been questioned, quote, before the bar, end quote, a reference to a brass rail in the House that's meant to keep strangers from entering the chamber, since 1913. Government House Leader Steve McKinnon kicked off questioning by asking about Firth's mental health. Now, this is where it gets really good, guys. This is a perfect excuse. Firth told the House that his doctor diagnosed him with acute mental health flare-ups, end quote, and said he is not supposed to participate in any activity that would cause, quote, undue stress, end quote. Well, I have that same problem. I don't like stress one bit, but I still have court May 2nd with Constable Conrad's tyrant herbs, and it's going to cause undue stress for me, and I'm not going to be able to function as well for the next 2 weeks as I prepare. And I'm not going to be able to do the fun things that make me happy. Instead, I'm going to be working on my cross-examination. So how is that fair? Now, McKinnon said the government wants answers from Firth, but they shouldn't come at the expense of his mental health. And 2 years and 2 months later, I shouldn't have to deal with Conrad Herbs either at the expense of my mental health. Now, quote, forcing someone against medical advice to do something that a doctor believes could harm their treatment and recovery is indeed beneath the dignity of this place, end quote, McKinnon said, indicating that the Liberals would be open to having Firth return another time. The Liberals didn't participate in any further questioning. The Auditor General has reported that the soaring cost of the controversial ArriveCan project, estimated at roughly $60 million, was in part due to the government's over-reliance on outside contractors like GC Strategies. $60 million, wow. Still a lot of money, even in Trudeau inflation times. That same report found that GC Strategies was involved in developing requirements that were later used for an ArriveCan contract. That contract, valued at $25 million, was later awarded to GC Strategies, the report says. Let me reread that. So they are involved in developing requirements that later used for ArriveCan contract. The contract valued $25 million. So it went from $25 million to plus $60 million and still unaccounted for dollars. The separate report by Canada's procurement ombudsman found that the criteria used in awarding the $25 million contract were, quote, overly restrictive and, quote, heavily favored GC Strategies. During his committee appearance, MPs repeatedly asked Firth which government officials he worked with to develop the criteria for that contract. Firth avoided those questions, citing an ongoing RCMP investigation of ArriveCan, even though he said he hadn't been contacted by a police force at that time. Wow, that doesn't make any sense at all. I'm sorry, I can't answer your questions because I'm involved in an ongoing investigation. Have the RCMP contacted you? Have you been questioned by them? No, I haven't been questioned by them. In fact, they never even phoned me yet or emailed me. No, nothing. Firth did offer an answer to that question in the House on Wednesday, indicating that he had spoken to Diane Daly, a Canada Border Service Agency employee, about the contract requirements. Wow, I'd love to hear what that conversation was about, because it doesn't sound like that person has any authority besides being a small-town border person, but we'll see. But Firth disagreed with the findings of the Auditor General and Procurement Ombudsman. Firth told the House that the contract in question had over 200 requirements and that his firm only offered 3 suggestions. He also said that the 10 other firms bid on the contract. I don't see that as overly restrictive, Firth said. 3 reprimands since the 1990s topic here. Only 3 other people have faced a public admonishment before the House since 1990. Former MP Ian Waddell and Keith Martin were admonished by the Speaker in 1991 and 2002, respectively. The most recent case was in 2021, where Ian Stewart, then the President of Public Health Agency of Canada, appeared before the House after the agency failed to turn over documents to a parliamentary committee relating to the firing of 2 scientists from the Natural Microbiology Laboratory in Winnipeg. Wow, in 2021, we're talking about COVIDism here, guys. 2 national microbiology people were fired when Leanne Stewart, then the president of Public Health Agency of Canada, appeared before the House, failed to turn over documents to the Parliamentary Committee relating to the firing of 2 scientists, so they don't name the scientists. But in those cases, none of the individuals were forced to answer questions from MPs. Oh, man. This is a page from the House of Commons, 1919. Let's move on. The last time that happened was in February 1913, when R.C. Miller was brought before the House to answer questions relating to bribery allegations in relation to government contracts. Miller previously refused to answer questions before the House Public Accounting Committee and did so again when he appeared before the bar. In response, MPs ordered that Miller be imprisoned. Last week's motion suggests the Government Operations Committee will, quote, consider, end quote, first testimony, and, quote, if necessary, recommend further action. And this is the CBC journalist Darren Major. Well, anyways, all right, guys, there you have it. Some deep, deep swindling going on between liberals and the they're contractors, they're partners, also the people that they pay to give them information, right up to the WEF in terms of their contracts for people to suggest what they do in the millions and millions of dollars to pay somebody else to give you suggestions on what to do. Anybody remember that? Irnieracing News, guys. Over and out.